I've been holding off on making this video for a long while, but now that it's the big 25 as the kids call it, I'm posting a Battlefront video every month of the year. It's been a while since I've ranked something from Battlefront. Last time I had a lengthy ranking video was all the way back in December of 2023. Needless to say, you guys had some interesting opinions. Moving on from that, I guess I should rank every map from the bigger brother of the classic Battlefront games. While not as good as its sequel, it's still great fun and has a pretty good selection of maps. However, not all of them are winners as this game has its fair share of stinkers. But despite only having 17 maps, which is 5 less than the sequel, or 11 if you want to include all the space maps, I can't wait to rank all of them bad boys. So grab your popcorn, have a friend come over, grab your potato chips, grab your soda, grab your water, grab your juice, turn on the projector, sit back and relax on the sofa, and let's get right into the ranking.
Disappointment in the game of life.
Endor Bunker is the most disappointing map since my nephew. It's truly a special feeling to find a map where I can't find a single good quality from this map. It was ranked as my third least favorite map in the Battlefront II ranking video, as Endor is ranked above Dagobah and Felucia. But since those two maps I mentioned aren't in this game, Endor Bunker has the grand honor of being the worst map in the first Battlefront game. With how big the map is, it's best to traverse the gigantic trees with a speeder bike. Well, what if you don't have a speeder bike? Well, too bad. Guess you'll have to slowly walk over to the next command post with nothing in plain sight aside from maybe a few enemy troops. God, I hate this map so much. Why is it so poorly designed? There's also the shield bunker, which requires 4 time bombs to destroy the shield bunker. So if you're playing as the Wookiee smuggler, you'll have to walk out of the bunker and risk dying just to grab an extra one. But if you die, well, tough luck because they've already repaired it. Wow. A map that's already slow enough made even more tedious. This map would have been way better utilizing the Ewok platforms more for the top portion and have the Battle of Spears and ATSCs down at the bottom, which would make for some strategy and make it less boring, since the infantry battle takes place in a flat and hard to see forest. But in short, this map sucks because you'll be walking a lot and it's boring and infuriating. At the very least, it's better in Battlefront 2, but it's only better than 2 maps in the sequel. Now let's stop talking about Endor. I hate this map.
Otherwise known as the Windows XP background.
Now that we're past the bad apple, we're on to the D tier of mediocrity. Starting with Naboo Plains. For being the first map in the Clone Wars campaign, it works fine as is. You may look at this and think, oh, this is a basic bitch map for beginners. That is true for the CIS at least. Every other faction can feel miserable to play on at times if one of your vehicles is stuck in one of the enemy command posts. I'm also not going to talk about the campaign versions of these maps since all they do is have slight differences compared to playing them in Galactic Conquest or Instant Action, so it's not worth bringing up in my honest opinion. Anything else that's noteworthy is that Gungans are there and they assist the Republic and Rebels, and every faction has tanks they can use, and the Republic and Rebels can also use their respected starfighters, and the Republic and Rebels can make use of their respected starfighters in the PS2 and original Xbox ports, that is. There's not much else to be said about this map other than it's an okay starter map, but it's really bland. Let's move on to the next map already.
So the only thing that you can tell me is that I will find Jabba at Jabba's palace.
Oh hey, this map was also 15th place in my ranking for all the Battlefront II 2005 maps. It's like poetry, it rhymes. I can't believe it. So what can I say about this map? Not much, it's certainly a map that exists. It plays almost the exact same as in Battlefront 2. Tight corridors, Return to Jedi references galore, Gamorreans with their overpowered axes. It's also really dark and that's really it. The fact that Jabba's Palace was the only DLC map in the first game is really underwhelming since we could have had new maps for planets already in the game like Bespin, Renvar, or even Naboo. I don't know what else to say about Jabba's Palace. The gameplay is pretty much the same as in the sequel and that's it. But at the very least we're out of the D tiers and onto the C tiers with maps that are just decent. Now let's take a look at our barely passing maps.
Legendary once a
Fall.
Part of me wanted to put this map a whole lot higher, but at the same time, this isn't really anyone's favorite Battlefront 1 nor Battlefront 2 map. So would I have any arguments if I were to include Yavin 4 Temple in C tier? I doubt it. But I want to talk about the aspects that I enjoy. One aspect I like is how you can go onto the bridge in the dry pool and admire the view from there. It's completely useless most of the time since you can't see anything while trying to snipe, but it looks gorgeous nonetheless. And being in a vehicle is quite fun. But at the same time, the trees can get in the way, which can be annoying at times. But there is a path not filled with trees, as the path not bombarded with trees goes through the viaduct and dry pool. I also like the visual design of the level. I've already mentioned how pretty the dry pool bridge is, but all the other command posts have their own noticeable feats. like the interior of the temple or the waterfall near the outlook. It's not a lot, but these are the qualities of why it's not worthy of D tier. But now onto the opposite of positives. It's a really annoying map to traverse at times with how the trees can get in the way, similar to that of Endor, and the weird exclusion of vehicles for Republican rebels since the Sea Ice and Empire get vehicles. And before anyone mentions speeder bikes, they're really weak and make you more vulnerable to enemy fire. However, the exclusion of Republican rebels not having vehicles also makes the map horribly unbalanced since the Sea Ice and Empire are more favored to win, which makes me thankful that the Republic and rebels have vehicles in the Battlefront II version of the map. It's wild how Battlefront 2 scored a W of this when bringing the Battlefront 1 maps over to Battlefront 2. Also, I should mention this, but in the original console ports of Battlefront 1, the positions for Super Battledroid and Assault Droid were swapped. And what's even funnier is that this is the only instance of something like that happening in this game and the sequel. Overall, I like the visual design of the map. I would have included it in the top half for visual design, but the gameplay just kills it for me with how unbalanced it is. Such wasted potential from the fourth moon of Yavin Prime. Yes, that's what the weird red plant is called when looking up into the sky of Yavin 4. I've rambled on about Yavin 4 Temple for long enough, so let's head on over to the next map.
Today on the island of
Kashyyyk.
Did you know that this is the only map in the first game aside from Jabba's palace to not include any turrets of any kind? I'm not sure if anyone really cares since this is one of the least memorable maps in the game. The map is visually nice to look at compared to Naboo Plains or Jabba's palace, as both of them look boring as hell. It's not the best of the bunch, but at the same time I don't hate it either. It's kind of the map that exists. What else is there to say about it? There are Wookiees that help out the Republican rebels, and the fact that the command posts near the middle are really wedged in, and also the fact that bamboo trees are stronger than vehicles at times. I don't know why, but that's a thing I guess. It also hosts the hardest thing to do in the game, that being beating Kashyyyk Island's Empire with the difficulty set on hard. So far, there are 5 people that have completed this nightmare with recorded proof. However, one of the victors deleted their video and just disappeared from the internet. Whoever you are, please comment on this video. And one more thing before we move on. In the PS2 and original Xbox versions, it had this night sky which looks really nice. However, in the PC and Classic Collection versions, the night sky is a replace of sky that more so resembles a sunset. A bit disappointing, but not the biggest loss from the older console ports. Looking at you, PC Renvar Citadel, you disgusting piece of shit.
Cloud City. More like Crap City if you ask me.
Hey look, it's Cloud City in 12th place, just like in my ranking video for all the Battlefront 2 maps. That and Jabba's Palace and Yavin 4 Temple also have the same rank as they did when they were ranked in my map ranking for Battlefront 2. Take a shot every time I mention my Battlefront 2 map ranking video. Trust me, you will be dead. I know that you are extremely surprised to see this map ranked so low, but I'll go over the positives, then I can talk about the negatives. The layout and visual design of the map looks nice, and the carbon freezing chamber has a little reference from Empire Strikes Back if you play it in the Galactic Civil War era. That's about it. Anyways, time to hate on Cloud City and talk about the negatives. There's hardly any health and ammo droids on the lower half of the map, and it also suffers from the Dagobah problem of having a bunch of health and ammo droids being far apart from each other. There are like 2 that are very close, but that's about it. And playing this map online is just terrible, as it's really easy to get cornered if you enter a lobby that has Cloud City as the current map and you get placed on the losing team. I may get some comments complaining about ranking Cloud City so low, but still my opinion, so cry about it or something. Okay, let's catch a ride in the Millennium Falcon before I enrage the Cloud City fandom any further and get out of this map, as we're about to enter the B tier. Also known as the maps that I can consider good picks. Also known as the maps that I can consider good picks. Also known as the maps that I can consider good picks. So let's go there.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Empire on Ice!
For reference of where Hoth was ranked in my ranking for the Battlefront 2 maps, it was ranked pretty low. Somewhere around the lower end of C tier, and was the 4th lowest map in that list that made its return from this game. But do you know where Hoth was in my original ranking for the Battlefront 2 maps? It was 15th place since I merged the Space Battles into one spot and I didn't include the Xbox DLC maps in that ranking video. It was 15th place since I merged all the Space Battles into one spot and I didn't include the Xbox DLC maps in that ranking video. It was the 5th worst map in that ranking video overall, of Endor somehow ranking higher than Hoth in the original ranking video. I can see why I redid that video. But enough about that. How was Hoth in the first Battlefront? It's pretty good. It does a good job in capturing the Battle of Hoth from the Empire Strikes Back, with AT-ATs walking closer and closer to the Echo base while Snowspeeders make an attempt to impede those AT-ATs from destroying the shield generator. But let's not forget the best part about this map. The tunnel that's near the shield generator. It's a completely useless area, but damn it, I love this part of the map so much and I'll never forgive Battlefront 2 for removing it. There's also the tunnel of at least 2 V Echo Base, which is also cool, but I don't know. Sometimes exploring pointless areas can be fun at times. However, why is this map only in B tier? Firstly, I'm not a fan of its visual presentation. It looks uninteresting from the outside, but I really like how the map looks inside the tunnels, and I wish they made use of those tunnels more. With that said, let's head on over to the next map since I'm freezing. Thankfully, the next map will negate the freezing effects of Huff as it's all hot all the time. Cannot wait to see what the top 10 has in store for us.
Hey, Boo-Boo, we're in real life
Geonosis.
Originally, I had this map in B tier, then put it in C tier, and now it's back in B tier. But I do think it has its problems with the other 2 maps that were originally below this one, as it's none other than Geonosis. You know, the land of the bug people, as they have their own language. I was going to put a clip of a Geonosian from Attack of the Clones speaking Geonosian for 10 hours. Sadly, the video got lost to time as the creator probably got their channel taken down. And the only thing similar to this is the Lego Geonosian death sound from Lego Star Wars looped for 10 hours. Enough of what I think I was warning about. How does the map feel? I like the gameplay. Even if it does look flat and boring, the gameplay feels as close as the movie originated from, with LATs flying around and Hailflyers roaming around too. It has a lot of things going on, and you can see the things going on easily. Wish I could say the same thing about Endor. And I like some of the areas for the command posts. The derelict being the remains of a destroyed Techno Union ship is kind of a neat idea and adds variety to a flat map. And the Spire having these really cool holograms of the LATs is a really cute detail that I like. With that said, why is it not higher if it's in B tier? As I alluded to earlier, it's mostly flat with some elevation, but the elevation doesn't really affect the gameplay much. Still better than Naboo Plains with its empty as all hell plains map with nothing interesting aside from trees and stone structures. But another elephant in the room is how horribly unbalanced this map is. It's heavily biased for the CIS to win most of the time, so if you play this map as a Republic, you will not have a good time as your reinforcement count dwindles. But before I move on, I originally had Hoth rank higher than Geonosis, so why does this map get the edge over Hoth? Personally, I like the desert vibe of this map compared to snow. The visual design of Geonosis is pretty good in that department, hence why it's ranked above Hoth. Okay, it's time to take a quick intermission and rank the factions halfway through the main ranking. Anyways, of the 4 factions, which one is the worst? It's the Rebels. Their only good quality is that the Heavy class is good and the Pilot is alright, I guess. Next is the Republic. AI Droidekas shred the Republic easily, but it's above Rebels solely because they have an infantry unit that can fly. And their Heavy class is fine too. The runner-up goes to the Empire because they don't get bombarded with Droidekas and the Dark Trooper is really fun to play and fly around with. And to nobody's surprise, the CIS is the best faction of the 4 in this game because they have the best unit in the game and Droidekas. Well then, that was fun. I've got nothing to show for the time being, so let's continue on with the list and take a look at the top 9 maps. I really didn't feel like making the factions ranking an entirely separate video from this.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
This might be a hot take, get it, but I like the Battlefront 1 version of this map better than the Battlefront 2 version. We already know the visual downgrade from Battlefront 1 to Battlefront 2, but why do I like this version better? Well, I'll talk about its good qualities right now. Usually, desert maps are some of the most boring things ever, but it succeeded in making it interesting with this ship that's named the Dewagger Queen. I was curious and searched up whatever that ship's name was called. The hangar which has Jabba's skiff, and a cantina. And also the fact that the CIS and Empire get tanks in this. I bet Empire needs to capture the hangar first to get the ACST. You might say out loud, oh, but Kirby, what about the tanks the CIS and Empire get in Yavin Temple? Those tanks on Yavin 4 are actual bastard children. But how can you get pissed off at an AT just vibing and living the sweet life? Now for what I don't like. The map can be mazy at times if you aren't using a unit that isn't Jet Trooper or Dark Trooper, which can make it boring as you walk through the valleys of sandstone buildings. They also have some props like these things which are supposed to be water vaporators, which also appear in Dune Sea, but it doesn't do too much in my opinion. Overall, this map is really good. It makes me wonder how they made a pretty good map from this game and then made it one of the worst maps in the second game. I didn't even know that was possible. Anyways, let's get out of this place of scum and villainy and move on over to a map that's prettier to look at than a town in the desert. I would have never expected this, but a map as simple as Naboo Feed ended up cracking the top half of the list. Now, if this was the Xbox beta version of this map, it could have been an A or even S tier at that. The Xbox beta version of Naboo Feed had a lot to explore, but that doesn't mean the final version of this map isn't all too bad. It's pretty good for beginners who want to learn how the game plays, with each faction being equally balanced and vehicles to make use of and roam around with. It's also a good map for experienced players that are wanting to play on a simple map that isn't complex nor suffers from poor balancing. In addition, it's a really beautiful looking map, especially on the PS2 and Xbox versions of this map. Damn Naboo feed, you fell off in Battlefront II. One more praise I can give this map is how you can go onto the rooftops. It's kind of useless, but at the same time it's kind of fun being on the rooftops as you gain an aerial advantage as either a jet trooper or a dark trooper. Now onto the negatives. Firstly, there's this one bug where the Empire or Republic will never get into one of the tanks in the Palace command post. It's kind of strange how you just never seem to fix it. And eventually a similar issue would make its way into the Battlefront II version of this map. Secondly, it's pretty flat and kind of bland compared to the Xbox beta version, which had a lot of areas that looked unique and cool to look at and admire. Thirdly, Naboo guards were planned to be on this map for instant action and galactic conquest, like with gun guns on Naboo planes, but they were cut seemingly for no reason and are only seen in the campaign. And finally, this one isn't really a major flaw, but rather a nitpick. There are these pointless areas that are connected to this U-shaped structure on the minimap. I think their purpose is that they are sniping positions, but I hardly ever see anyone make use of them. That is if you were to play this map online, but I've yet to see anyone make use of it. But ignoring the flaws of this map, it's a great map to get used to Battlefront if you have never touched the Battlefront game in your life, but can also be a great map to play on if you like the vibes of it and roaming around in the vehicle. Now let's head on over to another vacation spot that's top notch.
Big wave female dog.
I could either rank this map either really high in A tier or really low in C tier. Back when I was like 12 or 13 years old, I considered this map top stream material. But now that I'm 19 years old, I decided to be lame and put it near the middle. I should talk about the positives first, then we can get on to the negatives. Easily the best aspect of this map has to be the visual design of it. Hands down, one of the best maps to look at visually. It's got that 6th generation beach level aesthetic that I can't get enough of. Hell, I wouldn't even mind taking a vacation there. That is, if there aren't any battles going on. If so, I'll postpone it until next year. I also enjoy being in the tank and demolishing the enemy team with them. It's very open, so it won't be a pain in the balls with a bunch of trees impeding your way. But why is it only B tier? Good question. Firstly, it's a really long map that mostly ranges from 10 to 15 minutes when an average battle for me ranges from 5 to 9 minutes. Might be me being impatient, but there is some more that denies this map the rank of A tier, bear with me. The second issue I have with this map is an issue Yavin 4 Temple also has. That being the fact that the Republic and Rebels don't have vehicles but the CIS and Empire do. Hooray! More horribly unbalanced nonsense in my Battlefront 1. And one more flaw I can muster is how the map is kind of empty. Yeah, there is some elevation on the top part. of the map, but when you look out into the Sea of Kashyyyk, it looks quite empty. If there were some Wookiee huts or rocks you could look at from the left or right side of the map, that would mend my problem of how empty it feels when looking out into the sea. I don't know what else to say honestly, but still a good map nonetheless. I like the vibes of the map. Using tanks here can be fun, but with the horrible balancing and how long the map plays out, it's not worthy of being an A tier map. And speaking of the A tier maps, we're out of the B tier maps, and now we're on to the A tier maps. Now let's pack our things and head on over to the next map on this list. When I was a little child, I really loved this map, and years later it still captures the same charm as it did when I originally played it on the PS2. So congratulations to Tatooine Dune Sea for being the best Tatooine map of the three, which makes it more insulting that they picked Mos Eisley and Jabba's palace to return in Battlefront 2 and let Dune Sea to rot. If I were to make this list when I was 12 or 13 years old, I'd have it as the number 10 spot. But due to most of my opinions changing with almost every map, I've grown to appreciate it a lot more. So why not talk about why this map is worthy of being an A tier? I'll start with how there's a whole lot to explore. You got the Sarlacc pet, the Sandcrawler, the Homestead, the Tusken camp, or even take a break from the battlefield and go on a hike through the rocks. Between the ground combat and air combat, both are great fun. You can either take on the enemy team or battle the Tusken Raiders. Oh yeah, I can't forget how this is one of 2 maps to make use of a neutral third faction. The other being Tatooine, Jabba's palace, but I hate Jabba's palace in this game. For what air combat is like in this map, it's more flexible here since the map isn't too small, so you can get some easy kills in your faction's respective ship. We also can't forget the vibes of the map. Like I said with Mos Eisley, desert maps usually tend to be extremely boring. But Tatooine Dune Sea really knocks it out of the park in not being a boring desert map with all the places you can explore, combat, and its visual design. If there are 3 flaws that I can muster about this map, The first one would be the fact that the Tusken Raiders are closer to the CIS and Rebels command posts, making those two factions have a slight disadvantage since they're being attacked from both sides. The second one is how there's just that one part of the map on the bottom left that's completely empty. Surely you could have made room to give the Tusken Raiders another command post there to fill up the emptiness on the bottom left. And the third one is sort of a nitpick for me, but what is with this weird smear on the Tusken command post? I never understood what it's supposed to be. Is it a graphical glitch of some kind? I guess I'll never know unless some former Pandemic studio member comments on the video explain what even happened there. But aside from those 3 flaws, Tatooine Dune CE is one for the books and certainly one that I won't skip out on. Except for the fact that there are 5 more maps that I think are better than this one.
So cold.
Renvar Harbor was an easy pick for one of my favorite maps in the first game. It got 6th place for the maps I ranked in the sequel, so it's gotta come for something. Anyways, how does Renvar Harbor stack up in the first game? It's still great fun. You got your giant vehicle you can defend or attack depending on your faction. It's a visually stunning map to look at, especially on the PS2 version, and can be fun to explore some of the command posts while on the battlefield like the Ice Caves or Fortress. So you may be asking, why is this only an A tier map instead of an S tier map? Well, I have 2 problems with this map. Firstly, most of the combat takes place on the right side of the map and barely anything happens on the left. And secondly, the bottom half is completely empty with nothing aside from a few mountains. So as such, it becomes wasted space in the map. But putting those 2 flaws aside, I have a lot of fun on this map, whether it be the visual design, gameplay, or exploring the map. But in reality, there's not much else to say from what I said for the Battlefront II version of the map. Since this version was before it got its Xbox DLC glow up in Battlefront 2 and not lazily copy and pasted over like with Yavin 4 Temple and Tatooine Jabba's Palace. So overall, the devs did a good job with Renvar Harbor, especially the Battlefront 2 version of the map. Not much else to mention, so time to head on to the next map on the list.
Welcome to Yavin 4 Arena.
Yavin 4 Temple wasn't that good of a map, but how about the arena? You're in for a treat. While maybe the only Xbox DLC map to get a significant downgrade, the original still remains as a classic map. The map is based on the Asajj Ventress and Anakin Skywalker battle from the 2003 Clone Wars show, as I mentioned before when I talked about this map in the Battlefront 2 map ranking video, but I'm just bringing it up again because why not? How does the map feel? Amazing! You got this awesome setting of rain pouring over the map that was sadly taken away from us when it got ported over to Battlefront 2 as Xbox DLC. The box is where most action takes place, as there's a lot you could do here. You could be a sniper and just go sniping, or be a soldier or engineer and defend the arena command post from the enemy team. The choice is yours. However, it just misses the top street for this reason. The vehicles in this map kind of feel unnecessary. Is your first instinct when playing this map to pilot a vehicle and shoot down the enemies that aren't inside the box? I didn't think so. With that said, we still have 3 more maps to talk about, so let's talk about the only other map that has rain in it.
Your clones are very impressive. You must be very proud.
Just cracking the top 3 is a map you would have never expected to make the top 3, but it did. I also just realized it by ranking the faction-based planets in the same order as I did when I ranked the Battlefront 2 maps. I don't know if I needed to bring that up, but it's kind of a funny coincidence. But ignoring that completely useless information, I absolutely love the map. The gameplay is pretty good, but how the map visually looks is what's heavily carrying this map with the awesome looking rain and even the clothing facility. I just really enjoy playing on this map while on the Separatists. I could care less about playing the Republic because they're cringe. One unique factor I really like about the map is how the Republic gets an advantage of having 20 more units at the start of the map, giving them that home field advantage. Doesn't do a whole lot to help out the Republic, but it's nice to include it to make fighting the Republic as the CIS a bit of a challenge. With how awesome this map is, why is it just short of S tier? There is one flaw. Originally in the Xbox beta version you could use ships to fly around, but they scrapped it because of a rumor that it would be too similar to Bespin platforms. That could be the case, but I'm kind of disappointed on how the map lacks any ships, as it could make use of both air combat and ground combat flawlessly. But if you were to remove that one flaw, you still got yourself a great battle in the rain. Anyways, I gotta go dry myself up because we're on to the S tier maps now. So let's see which map is the runner-up.
Big Death Pit. You should go check it out. Ah!
Now these top 2 were locked in as my favorite maps before I even considered making this video. And one of those 2 is Bespin Platforms. Ever since I was young, I really like this map, and my opinion on this map hasn't changed ever since. What makes this map an absolute joy to play on, you may ask? There's a lot to mention about this legendary map. You're placed high in the sky, as one wrong move can send you falling all the way down to the core of Bespin. As for the command posts, they look really good, as the two opposing sides from the neutral command posts at the start of the map look vastly different. And the gameplay makes great use of letting you either use ships to fly from your base to the enemy space and shoot down the enemy team's anti-air turrets in your faction's respective ship, or flank the enemy team from the tunnels connecting to the middle. Both options feel really welcoming for this map and why I consider it one of my favorites. Being in an anti-air turret can also be fun if you're challenging yourself as you try and shoot down the enemy ships high up in the sky. It reminds me of the turret missions in Sly 2 of how similar the interface looks. I also admire the tunnels that connect to the middle and the somewhat useless bridge on the top. Let's also not forget that I had a brief cameo in the 2004 re-release in Empire Strikes Back. Gotta love the Battlefront cameos in my Star Wars movies. The only flaw I can muster is that if you die and a vehicle of yours gets stuck in an enemy command post, things could get ugly. But aside from that, a spectacular map that is worthy of being one of the best maps in this game. Only being outdone by one more. Finally, we have reached the #1 spot on the list. What is it, you may ask if you're an outsider? It's none other than Renvar Citadel. Hey, wait a minute. I think I forgot to turn off the lights. There we go. So, as I was saying, Renvar Citadel still reigns supreme as my favorite map across both Battlefront games. Spoiler alert, but I had this map in first place for when I ranked all the maps in Battlefront 2. What else have I not said that's already been said for the Battlefront 2 version of this map? This map just oozes fun exploration, magnificent level design, it looks beautiful to look at, for the PS2 version at least, and is overall the most fun map to play on in this game. There's hardly any flaws I can give this map aside from the glow down they got for the PC version of this map. Hence why I give this map the #1 spot in not only Battlefront 1, but also in Battlefront 2. Take a bow, Renvar Citadel, you've earned it! Well guys, that's gonna wrap up this ranking video. This took a really long time to make, especially with the script that's roughly 6,000 words long. If you made it all the way to the end after sitting through me talking about Battlefront 1 maps for roughly half an hour, why don't you subscribe to the channel? I'm planning on doing non-Battlefront ranking videos since I have a couple that I might want to do. One of which being where I rank fatalities from various Mortal Kombat games or even maps from Dungeon Defenders. I'm not sure what I have in mind for the next Battlefront video for June, but I'll think of something. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!